technology has to fit your use case. If you're just following the hype, it's probably not going to work long term. So yeah, it really has. For us, it was really about, NFTs, that really fits our use case so well, and this technology is 10x better than the old technology. So it is not always around digital art or speculation, even though those have been the first sort of use cases that we've seen. And again, also when it comes to the metaverse, so just to take a step back, what's the metaverse? So the metaverse is the next iteration, I would say, of the internet, using augmented reality, virtual reality, to create a more immersive experience, an experience that resembles the real world more than the internet does today. What is the place of NFTs there? Because NFTs represent digital ownership and proof of ownership. So what could happen is you can prove that you own a specific object, or you can wear your digital collectible, a watch or sneakers, in the metaverse. However, I wouldn't say NFTs and the metaverse, they don't always interlink. There's also use cases of NFTs that have nothing to do with the metaverse. So for example, if we're using the NFT more as a proof of ownership of a physical asset, there's not necessarily a metaverse link. Or if we're using NFT to track an asset through the supply chain, it doesn't necessarily need to link to the metaverse. There's no right or wrong, because you could also argue why is a luxury watch priced at a specific price point, whereas there's other watches that might be as good from a functional perspective that are 100 times less the price, similar of any sort of luxury good. So it's, in any case, everything in this world is around perception and perceived value. That's I would say that's the first thing. However, even if you accept that, I understand that you can still be skeptical about NFTs that are purely speculative. But there, I would say that, as I said earlier, there are a lot of other use cases that I think are interesting, that we're going to see a lot more of in the next couple of years. It is just that these early cases were very much around digital art, speculation. It's all about opening up access to alternative assets, collectible assets that are normally out of reach for most people. So let's say a painting that's $1 million, or a watch that's $50,000. Normally it's out of reach, but because of NFTs and fractionalization, we're able to open up access to more people, just because we can lower those minimums. So it's not really about we have to use NFTs. It's more around NFTs enable us. They are a great technology to enable us to do what we want to do. When it comes to education, I think there are a couple of use cases within education. One of them would be around, again, the NFT being digital proof. What you could do is you could put, for example, degrees and diplomas on chain, and you would get after you've graduated, you would get your NFT, and that is a proof that you've completed that degree, and it can't really, it cannot be faked, which is, of course, it is always a problem, like fraud, fakes. Whereas with the blockchain, where everything is traceable, there's a lot of interesting use cases. Of course, it's going to take some time to get there, because a lot of people would have to be on board in order for this to be recognized. But we're seeing it. It's starting to happen. We're seeing a couple of use cases come up, a couple of universities that are starting to get on board. You could also instead of putting entire degrees on chain, there's some universities where professors are starting just to do it with their own courses, or giving the top students an NFT or a so-called POAP, which is like a proof of attendance. Unfortunately, it is not just this space. If we're looking just generally at tech, so I'm based in London in the UK. Only 2% of VC funding is going to all female teams. So it's a problem across the board, potentially, or probably even worse when we're looking at crypto, fintech. Why that is, I think there's a couple of reasons. I mean, when you're looking at fintech, it's combining finance and tech, which are already two kind of male-driven industries, and then getting that together. People consider crypto as a perhaps a more risky industry. It's really new as well, and this is one of the things I think a lot of women are familiar with this statistic or this study, that if women read a job ad and they feel like they have to meet all of the requirements. I would say if you go into the space of NFT and crypto, you will always feel that you don't know everything, but you can't. You always feel that you don't have enough experience, but no one has 10 years of experience in this area because it's very new. But perhaps that would make women feel more uncomfortable, because especially if you're starting your own company, you want to feel that I've got lots of experience. Whereas within this space, you have to just be comfortable with the unknown. Trust yourself that you can rely and lean on your previous experiences, even if that's not in the same industry, because your male counterparts don't have 10 years of crypto or NFT experience either. I have unfortunately seen people obviously giving up, and I think one of the reasons is that it wasn't always well planned. You have to have some level of financial stability, I would say, before you go into starting your own startup. You need to have a certain level of personal runway. Like, for example, okay, I know I can fund my lifestyle for the next 6 to 12 months, because it's going to take some time to raise capital. So I think those are just the prerequisites. So really think it through. But then once you do have that level of financial stability, I would say then yes, just go for it. And you don't have to feel that you have to have that $1 billion idea already, because it's going to change. Almost everyone I know that's doing startups, they made either like major pivots or they made some minor pivots compared to the idea that they first had. Because you've got an idea, then you're going to go out to people, you're going to validate it, you're going to talk to potential customers, and it will always evolve and change. A little bit of money from a savings account where you're losing money every year pretty much because of inflation, put some money into like an index fund just to track the stock market. You don't need to do your own research. You just track the biggest companies in the US or in the UK. So that will be the first step. Then once you've sort of figured out the basics, perhaps made your first investment in an index fund, I think then it's really time to look at, okay, what other opportunities are out there? How can I diversify? And that it really depends then again on sort of your risk profile, how quickly your time horizon, how quickly are you expecting a return. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting opportunities in NFTs, in crypto, in DeFi. So yeah, it definitely pays off to do your research. I always go back to this story which is that I started investing quite a number of years ago, pretty much right when I started working. Of course, relatively lucky with the timing. The market, I started investing at a good time, market went up, but just because of that, I made enough money that just from the investments that, I had an opportunity to quit my job. I knew that I'm going to have enough money for the next sort of year to support myself. Otherwise, I might not have, been able to start a business.